May has been a very positive month for my investment portfolio. In fact, my net worth has reached a new all-time high, bringing me a little closer to achieving my financial goals, retiring early thanks to my investments. My previous all-time high was at the end of February, when my net worth was around 528,000 euros. But in the following months it dropped to 516,000 due to the high volatility in the markets. At the end of May, I reached a new all-time high, hitting as much as 592,000 euros. That's a big jump. This great result comes from two factors. First, May saw a strong recovery in the stock market. The main stock indexes recovered most of the losses from the previous months. Second, I received dividends from my own company. You should know that I'm an entrepreneur. I get a monthly salary from my company, but once a year, if the company has made a profit, I can pay myself dividends. And 2024 was a pretty good year for my company, so I received a good amount of dividends, over 60,000 euros. So I decided to invest most of that money right away in the financial markets. I didn't want to leave it in my bank account because I already have an emergency fund. So I want most of my money to work for me in the financial markets. In particular, in the last month I invested about 42,000 euros. I will explain exactly where I put it, but first, if you haven't done it yet, give this video a like to support my work and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future updates about how I manage my finances. Alright, keep in mind that I'm an Italian living in Poland, in the city of Warsaw. So I'm speaking to you from the perspective of a European investor who uses European financial instruments. Americans might get a bit confused maybe looking at this video because in Europe we have different financial instruments. Also remember that I invest with a long-term mindset, avoiding speculation. That's why I focus mainly on ETFs, which are funds that passively track the performance of a stock market index. You can think of them as containers that hold a large number of individual stocks or bonds inside. This makes them very diversified and generally safer than investing in individual stocks. In May, I invested in as many as 7 different ETFs, and I will go through them one by one, starting from the smallest investment to the largest one. Keep in mind that the total amount of my investments for May was 42,000 euros. The first one is the Spider MSCI USA Small Cap Value Weighted ETF. This fund invests in small cap US companies weighted based on the value factor. In simple terms, it focuses on companies that might be considered undervalued according to their fundamentals. I invested 2,000 euros in this ETF. The second one is the iShares Core MSCI Emerging Markets ETF. This fund invests in stocks from emerging markets worldwide, covering over 3,000 companies of both small and large capitalization, and I invested 3,000 euros in this ETF. The third one is the iShares JP Morgan USD Emerging Markets Bond ETF. This fund tracks the performance of bonds issued by emerging market countries in US dollars. I invested 4,000 euros in this ETF. I also invested another 4,000 euros in the Xtrackers Euro High Yield Corporate Bond ETF. This fund focuses on high-yield corporate bonds issued in euros. The fifth ETF is the iShares Edge MSCI World Value Factor. This fund invests in companies from developed countries worldwide that are classified as value stocks. As you might have guessed, I'm a big fan of the value factor. So I invested a solid 6,000 euros in this ETF in May. Now let's move to the two biggest investments I've made last month, which are also two of the main positions in my investment portfolio. The first one is the iShares Core Global Aggregate Bond, a global bond ETF that holds over 17,000 bonds issued worldwide. I invested about 11,000 euros on this one. Finally, we have the iShares Core MSCI World. This is the most important ETF in my entire portfolio. It tracks the stock market performance of all developed countries, including the USA, Europe, Japan, Canada, and Australia. In May, I invested 12,000 euros in it, bringing my total holding in this ETF to over 50,000 euros. Obviously, you shouldn't just copy me. These are the investment choices I make for myself as part of my own strategy. But I hope they can somehow inspire you. Before we finish, I want to show you my asset allocation at the end of May. As you can see, cash increased compared to the last month, because I haven't yet invested a good part of the dividends. I might do that gradually over the next few weeks. Bonds dropped slightly, the stock portion went up a little bit, reaching 23%, but that's still too low. I'd like to bring it up to 30%. All the other parts of the portfolio went down slightly because I didn't make any other new investments in gold, crypto, peer-to-peer lending or real estate. We'll see what happens in the next months. Meanwhile, thank you for staying with me until the end, and feel free to check out my other videos to get a full picture of how I manage my money. Bye and see you soon!